It is an undeniable truth of modern life that, raised under the relentless glare of global media, the lives of high-profile figures often unfold in a delicate balance between public duty and personal sanctuary. As a young prince nears a pivotal milestone in his life, entering his teenage years and preparing to step into a prestigious institutional environment, the world finds itself reflecting on what has quietly become one of the most successfully protected childhoods in modern royal history. For over a decade, a careful, almost invisible strategy has been at play, allowing a young boy to grow up with a sense of genuine normality despite carrying the immense weight of future destiny. In an era dominated by smartphones, instant public updates, and an insatiable global appetite for personal details, the ability to raise a child who remains, by all accounts, grounded, cheerful, and relatively unbothered by the apparatus of fame is a remarkable story in its own right. It is a narrative that begins not in the quiet corridors of historical estates, but in the bustling, heat-soaked streets of central London, during a summer that many still remember for its extraordinary intensity and overwhelming anticipation. To truly understand how this young figure reached the threshold of his next big chapter, one has to travel back to the very beginning, to a day when the eyes of the entire international press corps were fixed firmly on a single hospital entrance, waiting for a signal that would announce a new era. Before diving into the details of this extraordinary journey, if you enjoy deep-dive reports on major public figures and historical milestones, please take a brief moment to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. The journey began on July 22, 2013, on what was recorded as the hottest day of the year in London. For weeks, journalists, camera crews, and royal enthusiasts from every corner of the globe had been camped outside the Lindo wing of St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. The prolonged wait had evolved into a massive cultural phenomenon, dubbed by the international press as the Great Wait, as reporters endured scorching heat and endless hours on the pavement. When the official announcement finally arrived, confirming the arrival of a healthy baby boy weighing 8 pounds and 6 ounces, the news was delivered with a classic blend of ancient tradition and public ceremony. In keeping with royal protocol, a formal framed notice was placed on a gilded easel set up in the forecourt of Buckingham Palace, drawing huge crowds who gathered to catch a glimpse of the official declaration. Across the capital, the celebration was marked with immense ceremonial grandeur, including 41 gun salutes fired in Green Park and 62 gun salutes echoing from the Tower of London, while the famous fountains in Trafalgar Square were illuminated in bright blue light to mark the occasion. The following evening, the young family stepped out onto the steps of the hospital to present their newborn to the world for the very first time. Faced with what was arguably one of the largest media scrums ever assembled for an infant, the baby briefly raised a tiny hand toward the flashing cameras before promptly drifting back to sleep, establishing a calm and composed public demeanor that would uniquely characterize his public appearances for years to come. Remarks made on the hospital steps were light-hearted and grounded, highlighting a sense of warmth and relief, but it was what happened immediately after the photo call that signaled a clear departure from traditional royal child-rearing. Instead of relying on a dedicated chauffeur, personal staff, or an elaborate security convoy, the young father stepped up to handle the family car seat himself, carefully securing the infant before getting behind the wheel and driving his family home. This simple, hands-on gesture offered an early indication of how the parents intended to navigate their roles, prioritizing a modern, direct approach to family life over rigid institutional protocol. 2 days later, the formal names were officially announced to the public, drawing widespread approval and echoing deep historic ties, while laying the foundation for a legacy that stretches back through centuries of constitutional history. The choices reflected a conscious connection to past monarchs, creating a bridge between historical lineage and a contemporary approach to public life. Soon after, the formal christening service underscored this thoughtful balance between public tradition and personal connections. Rather than selecting a traditional lineup consisting purely of senior royals or high-ranking dignitaries, the parents chose an intimate group of godparents, drawn largely from their closest personal friends, university companions, and trusted allies who had been by their side for years. The occasion was marked by uniquely personal touches, including the traditional serving of a preserved tear from their own wedding cake, crafted as a rich fruit cake capable of aging gracefully over time. These early decisions provided a distinct blueprint for how the child's upbringing would be handled, blending historical obligations with a steadfast commitment to maintaining a grounded private existence. As the young boy grew into a lively toddler, his early public engagements captured widespread international attention, demonstrating an innate charm that naturally resonated with audiences across the globe. During an initial official overseas tour to Australia and New Zealand when he was just 8 months old, his presence created a wave of enthusiasm that dramatically boosted public interest and affection for the family. Observers noted that, unlike previous generations, where young children were frequently left behind with caregivers during lengthy overseas engagements, this modern family chose to travel together, keeping the young prince at the heart of their daily lives. Public playdates and early visits were characterized by spontaneous, joyful moments, with the toddler exploring his surroundings with boundless curiosity, playing alongside local children, and displaying a playful energy that endeared him to millions. Subsequent trips abroad continued this trend, producing iconic moments that circulated widely in global media, from candid airport interactions to memorable evening meetings with international leaders. Yet behind these charming public appearances, a serious, highly strategic effort was taking place behind the scenes to shield the child from the invasive realities of constant media pressure. In the early years of his life, the sheer intensity of global demand created significant safety and privacy concerns, as aggressive photography tactics endangered the daily routines of the young family. Unauthorized surveillance efforts, long lens tactics, and persistent interference prompted a decisive shift in how the household managed media relations. Rather than retreating entirely into complete isolation or pursuing endless legal battles, the parents implemented an extraordinarily innovative and effective media strategy that completely transformed the traditional dynamics of royal coverage. Instead of allowing an uncontrolled market of invasive photography to flourish, the family made a conscious and highly calculated decision to meet the public demand on their own terms. Recognizing that absolute secrecy would only increase commercial value and drive intrusive behavior, they adopted a policy of regular, high-quality media releases. By sharing official portraits on significant personal milestones, such as birthdays, first days of school, holiday seasons, and major family gatherings, they successfully flooded the media landscape with authorized, beautiful images. Crucially, many of these photographs were taken directly by the child's mother in relaxed, natural settings, adding an authentic and intimate feel that resonated deeply with the public. This strategy effectively undermined the commercial incentive for unauthorized imagery, as media outlets no longer needed to pay exorbitant sums for grainy, secret photos when high-resolution, candid portraits were made freely available by the family. By controlling the supply of images, they created a protected environment where the young prince could navigate his daily routine, attend school, and participate in ordinary childhood activities without the constant spectre of unexpected intrusion. This clever approach stood in sharp contrast to alternative strategies that rely on complete concealment, which often unintentionally heightens curiosity and inflates the value of rare sightings. While the public enjoyed a steady stream of charming images and watched the young boy grow, the actual details of his daily thoughts, personal traits, and private family interactions remained safely guarded behind palace walls. This deliberate structure allowed him to experience a remarkably ordinary upbringing within the framework of an extraordinary royal existence. His early educational journey further reflected this commitment to engineered normality. His schooling began in a quiet, rural nursery setting, where he participated in everyday early childhood experiences, from finger painting to participating in seasonal school plays. When the time came to transition to a primary school in London, the institution was explicitly instructed to treat him without royal fanfare, using a simple surname derived from his father's title rather than formal honorifics. On his very first day of primary school, he arrived holding his father's hand, looking like any anxious young student embarking on a major life transition, while his mother was forced to miss the moment due to severe pregnancy illness at home. Throughout his early school years, he engaged in a broad and standard curriculum that included everything from academic fundamentals to creative arts, music, and ballet lessons. The inclusion of ballet in his routine briefly sparked mild commentary in distant media circles, but it was quickly met with overwhelming support from professional dancers and educators who praised the encouragement of diverse artistic pursuits for young children. Surrounding the young prince at school was an extraordinarily supportive community of parents, teachers, and staff who maintained strict discretion, forming an unwritten shield of privacy around the family. Story after story from fellow school parents emphasized that the prince's parents were regular figures at school events, attending sports matches, music performances, and parent meetings without fanfare, blending seamlessly into the everyday community. This protective environment allowed the young boy to build genuine friendships and build a strong foundation of confidence before he gradually became aware of his unique place in the national story. As he approached the age of 9 or 10, his understanding of his future responsibilities was introduced in a gentle, gradual manner, framing his lineage not as a burdensome weight, but as a natural part of his identity. His transition to a new prep school near Windsor marked another significant step in his educational progression, allowing all 3 siblings to attend the same institution together. Here, his title adjusted seamlessly alongside his father's elevated role, yet his daily routine remained focused on academic growth, team sports, and outdoor activities. He developed a strong interest in athletics, participating in team sports such as hockey and football, as well as competing in youth triathlons, while developing a passionate allegiance to his father's favorite professional football club. Throughout these formative years, his parents maintained a strict balance between public obligations and home life, prioritizing family dinners, limiting screen time, and enforcing clear boundaries to foster a sense of security. Observers and family acquaintances consistently noted that the primary goal of this modern upbringing was to rear a generation of royal children who felt grounded, emotionally resilient, and capable of handling future pressures without the lingering weight of historic family anxieties. The strength of this supportive structure was tested during times of family difficulty, particularly when major health challenges affected the household. During these sensitive periods, his parents handled the situation with remarkable openness and care, explaining complex health events to the children in an age-appropriate manner that emphasized reassurance, honesty, and family unity. By treating their home as an anchor of emotional stability, they ensured that even during challenging times, the young prince felt secure and informed. Now, as he reaches the threshold of his teenage years, the carefully protected phase of his childhood is naturally evolving into a new period of greater independence. The choice of his next educational institution represents both a continuation of royal legacy and a fresh approach to contemporary education. Situated along the River Thames, the historical school he is set to attend carries centuries of tradition, having educated countless leaders, scholars, and public figures throughout its long history. Founded in the 15th century, the institution operates on a full-time boarding model, where students live in dedicated houses, manage their daily schedules, and learn to navigate an environment populated by peers from diverse, global, and financial backgrounds. While the school has historically been associated with immense privilege and tradition, modern reforms have expanded financial aid and bursary programs, introducing a broader cross-section of students and fostering a dynamic academic environment. For the young prince, entering this residential setting marks his first significant step away from the continuous daily oversight of his home environment, placing him in a setting where personal independence and self-reliance are cultivated daily. Stepping into this celebrated boarding environment represents a monumental transition, not merely in terms of academic rigor, but as a crucial testing ground for personal character. Within the historical brick quadrangles and stone corridors of Eton College, the young prince joins a long-standing legacy that includes both his father and his uncle, who walked these same paths decades earlier. Yet, the atmosphere today reflects a subtle shift toward modern egalitarianism within an elite setting. Rather than relying on formal royal forms of address or special privileges, he is registered under a simple, grounded surname, ensuring that among his fellow students, he is known primarily as a classmate, teammate, and friend. The structure of life at the college demands active participation, independence, and personal responsibility. Students reside in individual rooms within designated boarding houses where daily life revolves around communal meals, intensive study sessions, and an extraordinary variety of extracurricular opportunities. From ancient traditional sports specific to the school's heritage to modern athletics, rowing, music, and dramatic arts, the environment is engineered to challenge every student to find their own identity outside of their family background. For a young prince whose early years were so carefully shielded from public intrusion, the residential nature of the school offers a unique space where long-lasting bonds can form naturally. Friends made during these formative teenage years often become lifelong anchors, providing a circle of trust and mutual respect that is vital for anyone who will spend their adult life in the public eye. Acquaintances and observers close to the family describe the young prince as a thoughtful, observant, and sensitive teenager, possessing a warm sense of humor alongside a mature understanding of his position. While he possesses a natural interest in sports, environmental conservation, and creative arts, he is also recognized for his considerate nature and strong bond with his younger siblings. His parents have deliberately fostered an environment where his awareness of future duty is balanced with a healthy, rounded self-image. This approach is deeply informed by the personal experiences of his parents, particularly his father, who experienced firsthand the unique pressures of growing up under intense global scrutiny. By establishing clear personal boundaries and prioritizing family unity, the current Prince and Princess of Wales have rewritten the blueprint for royal childhoods. Their strategy has moved away from rigid, distant institutional distance, substituting it with a warm, hands-on parenting philosophy that emphasizes emotional resilience, practical life skills, and authentic human connections. The success of this modern strategy is evident in the quiet confidence with which the young prince carries himself during occasional public appearances. Whether attending major national celebrations, standing beside his family during historic ceremonies, or simply enjoying a sporting event from the stands, he exhibits a composure that far exceeds his years. This poise is not the result of artificial training or forced public performances, but rather the natural outcome of a childhood anchored in genuine emotional security and stability. As he navigates the next 5 years of secondary education, the public interest in his development will undoubtedly remain high. However, the protective media framework painstakingly constructed by his parents continues to serve as an effective buffer against unnecessary intrusion. By maintaining a consistent, open dialogue with the press while firmly enforcing boundaries around his daily school life, the family has ensured that his teenage years can proceed with a degree of freedom that previous generations of royals could only dream of. Looking ahead, the broader significance of this carefully managed upbringing becomes increasingly clear. In a rapidly changing world where public institutions must continually justify their relevance, the individual character of future leaders plays a pivotal role in maintaining public trust and connection. The decision to prioritize a normal, untraumatized childhood is not simply a personal choice made by loving parents. It is a long-term investment in the stability, authenticity, and endurance of the modern monarchy. By allowing the young prince to grow up as a well-adjusted, empathetic, and grounded individual, his parents are preparing him to eventually undertake his future role with a deep, authentic understanding of contemporary society. The story of his journey from a serene newborn on the hospital steps to a thoughtful, dynamic teenager entering a new academic era is a testament to the power of thoughtful, modern parenting in extraordinary circumstances. As he turns the page to this exciting new chapter, surrounded by new opportunities, enduring traditions, and strong family support, the world watches with respect and admiration. The delicate balance between historical duty and personal freedom has been struck with remarkable success, proving that even under the brightest public spotlight, a child can grow up grounded, confident, and ready to face the future. This carefully constructed sanctuary of youth ensures that when the time eventually comes for him to take on greater public responsibilities, he will do so supported by the firmest possible foundation, built on love, security, and a true sense of personal identity. The journey